Being Sailor Moon means assuming the role of an adult, and the dangers that come with the Senshi life are indicative of the challenges to growing up. The Dark Kingdom and Yoma are specifically the challenges of maturity that Usagi must grapple with in order to become a full-fledged adult. There's a reason why sins, fears, and flaws are used by the Dark Kingdom to ensnare their victims. This episode we had Morga, a Yoma that is inspired by the possessed girl from The Exorcist, and this is by no means a coincidence. The original Exorcist film, for those that don't know, is about a girl possessed by a vicious demon, and her mother, after running out of ways to help her daughter, seeks help from priests to perform an exorcism, hence the name of the film. The first half of the movie, aside from introducing the various characters and the setting of the story, is all about how the mother tries various methods to improve her daughter's condition as her daughter gets worse and worse. She seeks human help, but it's beyond natural human responses, because it's not a physical or medical problem, but a spiritual one. And as soon as the mother accepts this, she goes to the priests for help. And the priests try to perform the exorcism and save the girl. However, despite their prayers and blessings, they themselves are fallible and ill-equipped to defeat the demon on their own, and thus become the demon's prey, in the form of the possessed girl lashing out at them. One of the priests recognizes his fallibility, overcomes it, and thus activates a power he didn't know he had, the ability to take the demon into himself, and through sacrificing his life, save the girl. A decision necessary for the girl to be free of the demon, which means she now has the ability to go on with her life, to grow up, instead of dying at the hands of this demon in her adolescence. In Sailor Moon, we have two possessions, a literal one and a metaphorical one. Morga is a demon that literally possesses the identity of Naru's mom, and she became a bigger and bigger threat to the world the longer she remained Naru's mom. As her power grew, her form was revealed as a grotesque, demonic version of Naru's mom, dropping all pretenses. Naru seeks human help, but it's beyond natural human responses. It's a mystical problem, and so she receives mystical help. Sailor Moon and Luna arrive, two mystical characters that are fallible and ill-equipped to defeat the demon, and thus become the demon's prey, in the form of the possessed woman lashing out at them. The moment the tide turns for Sailor Moon and Luna is when she recognizes her fallibility, overcomes it, thus activating a power she didn't know she had, the ability to defeat the demon through her own magical or spiritual power. The demon is defeated and the girl is saved. Now Naru has the chance to grow up instead of dying at the hands of this demon in her adolescence. Luna and Usagi don't die, of course, but their lives are at stake in this battle, as I've explained previously. Not a total sacrifice of life, but a willingness to put that life in jeopardy in order to defeat the demon and save the innocent. The metaphorical possession is a little trickier to spot. Usagi is possessed in this first episode, not by a literal demon, but by a fatal flaw: irresponsibility. Her mother, Ikuko, has tried all she knows to do to help her daughter to be responsible and mature into a proper young woman. But she is a normal woman, and the normal methods at her disposal have clearly not worked. Enter Luna, a mystical character who goes to her bedroom and begins to combat the irresponsibility that possesses her. Luna gives Usagi something that transforms her from a hopeless victim to a Sailor Senshi, someone set apart from normal girls with a mission and responsibilities. And when she hears one of those responsibilities crying out to her, save Naru and defeat the supernatural enemies that no one else can, she is reluctant to do so. The push and pull of the exorcism begins. The fight between maturity and immaturity, responsibility and irresponsibility. The height of immaturity is when she cries about wanting to go home and why this has to happen to her. The selfish and irresponsible nature of Usagi reigning over the power and responsibility of Sailor Moon. Through giving in to this fatal flaw, her demon, she furthers the suffering of everyone around her and nearly gets herself killed, showing just how dangerous and self-destructive irresponsibility and immaturity is. It's only when Tuxedo Kamen, another spiritual mystical character comes to her aid and encourages her to do something to solve her predicament instead of sitting there pitying herself. It's a very interesting moment, but notice what is specifically said. Tuxedo Kamen says, "Crying isn't going to solve anything, Sailor Moon." And Usagi in response says, "But I," and starts crying, which activates the supersonic waves attack. Usagi isn't able to finish the protest. She simply cries, which activates the supersonic waves. This could be interpreted as her recognizing her demon and understanding she has to overcome it. And that will be a daunting task, but now she understands it's something she needs to do in order to survive to adulthood. And it's this internal understanding that activates the supersonic waves, which was my issue with this scene before, if you recall. Earlier, when I joked and said that Tuxedo Kamen was wrong about the crying thing, I was being facetious. Crying did something, it just didn't solve anything. Morga wasn't defeated. As soon as the attack stopped, she would have recovered and resumed her attempt at killing Usagi. Maybe even the Mind Slaves would have been woken back up, who knows? Crying didn't solve anything. It was the Moon Tiara action that solved the current problem. She got her crying out of the way and moved on to an action that was really effective in destroying the enemy, which I think is on purpose. In the manga and Crystal, this attack is called Moon Tiara Boomerang, which makes sense. It's a thing she throws and it comes back. Easy. But in Classic, they call it Moon Tiara Action, and I never understood why until I started studying this episode. This attack, unlike Usagi's other attack, is a conscious decision on her part. It's not an automatic, last-ditch effort defensive thing. It's an action that Usagi must take in order to accomplish her goals. Calling it Moon Tiara Action emphasizes that notion. And returning to our metaphorical exorcism narrative, the demon possessing our girl is irresponsibility, immaturity, or inaction. It's fitting then that in order to combat this demon, she must take action. Usagi took action when she rescued Luna in the first scene. She took action when she chose to turn into Sailor Moon, despite not knowing fully what she was in for. She took action when she heard Naru's screams and ran to Osapi to rescue her. She took action when she stood up to Morga. All of these moments are her most mature, most responsible, and most heroic moments in the episode. And all of them are because she took action. And now, her most heroic and responsible action in the episode is when she does Moon Tiara Action and defeats Morga. It's so heroic that Usagi can barely believe it herself. What a difference taking action makes compared to inaction and waiting for someone else to do it for her. With the defeat of Morga, Usagi's demon has been dealt a significant blow in this exorcism, but she is not completely free of it yet. I'm afraid that's a multi-season long exorcism with this demon. But we have seen a purposeful step forward in that process, where we see the demon is still present. In the end, Usagi is sleeping in class, but its control is now weaker than before. She's sleeping in class during a break in the actual lessons, an important distinction from before. Now, I know it's not a one-to-one comparison between the two stories, but you can't deny all the interesting connections one can easily make, can you? There's definitely some correlation between the two narratives that all have to do with a girl in danger of never growing up because a demon has possessed her life. And it's up to two spiritual or mystical characters who are fallible and ill-equipped to excise this demon themselves, but can influence and empower the girl to free herself of the demon. Because demon possession is when autonomy and choice are no longer up to the person and they become prisoners in their own bodies, puppeted around and controlled by this malevolent force. Through inaction or the habitual lack of good choices, the demon is granted control. All it takes is a little spiritual intervention and for the victim to choose to act, for the demon to lose its power, even if it's just a little bit. And all of this is derived simply by the design of Morga, the monster of the week, referencing a movie. I love it.